Sometimes weather becomes a problem when going to a gig, especially if you're having to travel out of state and the state has kind of a different weather pattern than you have in where you are. Once again, you have to deal with what problems could come up. I live in Tennessee. My family's in Georgia. For Christmas, I went home, did it. I had to get back in time to play New Year's Eve at this club. This club is important because it was kind of weirdly defining in what I started doing. We were playing there a lot, and we were going into the New Year's, and this is going into 1999, so 98 to 99, I think. We're playing at this club called Jacklegs, and the reason this is important is because yesterday was Christmas, and some crazy cat decided it would be, I don't know, somehow advantageous to them to blow up this street where I played. The club comes out to the rubble of this debris of stuff, and incredibly shocking. Yesterday morning, I expect to get up and play with a new toy and see how this camera thing works and all this, and that's the first thing I see. It sucks. The story kind of also at the time became the worst gig ever. This is a New Year's Eve gig. I am driving back the morning of New Year's Eve. I have my starter wife in the car. She and I are headed back to Nashville from my mother's, I believe, in the family. And so we were cruising back. I had to get back in time to play this gig. I had a sound check at I think maybe 4:30 or 5. It was much later, I think, because we didn't start playing till about 9:30 to 10. And in Nashville, the clubs and shows start on time. It wasn't like college where the opening act would start at 11:30 at night, and there's two opening acts for the main show that starts at 2 a.m. That's just what it was in Athens. Going to the 40 Watt at midnight was not uncommon. Going there at 2 a.m. was not uncommon. But you never went to bed. You just powered through. We're driving back to Nashville. All of a sudden, the weather changes. In Atlanta, all of a sudden it starts snowing, and it is snowing all the way back to Tennessee. She and I are booking it back because I know I have to go back and play drums that night. I've cut it a little close, but I was trying to spend a lot of time. We go back, and then all of a sudden, on one of the last bridges we're crossing, I felt the car get squirrely, and I'm like, ooh, goodness, that's not cool. After that, I have her call the singer who does live in Atlanta and does not go to the sound checks until usually about 1 hour before the gig, or 30 minutes. It really depends on when he can get there, because once again, travel is a big deal. So I let him know that, hey, the interstates are getting bad, the bridges are getting bad, you might want to go ahead and leave and just come over to one of our houses, because the rest of the band lived in Nashville. Get a phone call. Hey man, I'm not going to make it. What? They've closed the interstates. The interstates have shut down. So now the guy that runs the band is absolutely losing it that the front man of this group is not going to be there. And we're thinking, goodness, this is a huge gig. This is a club that Jacklegs that we had played at that used to be Club Mary Bulls that turned into BB Kings, and I think that's what it's been for years now. It's great. Everybody went downstairs, and it was a party. It was huge, and you really could massively have people in there, and it was a throwdown every time we played. We played there like every Thursday night, so we had a kind of a built-up thing that would stand all the way to the line to where the Hooters was even messed up today. We start trying to figure out what to do. We had just barely started playing an idea called Electric Boogaloo. It was an 80s band idea based around synth pop. We had the costumes, we had the idea, we had a club in Atlanta that was ready to go to try this. The club in Nashville was willing to try this. This New Year's Eve gig, we didn't have a singer. We know we're in trouble. The guitar player knows a lot of the music that we're playing and has played it for long enough that he knows the words enough to get us by. But it is not enough of that material to get us by for a whole New Year's Eve gig. Our brand new band, the 80s band, I happen to just somehow know those old words, even if I don't know them correctly. I know them phonically and the way the pitch goes. I started singing all the synth waves things because I can't scream or anything. And I came up with a way to build my Simmons drums to where I was standing up. So we had practiced these things already, and I put a kick drum on S&S, like trigger pole, And I would trigger a kick drum here, and I also had my Simmons kick drum on the ground, and I had toms and snare, and I had one hat and one, I think it was 18-inch ride crash or something. And I played standing up because we only had to do this for a little bit. We were barely getting it going, so we only had about 40 minutes of material worked up so far. And I was learning to stand up and play and do this 80s stuff because I could trade off and hit my kick drum with my right hand, so when I got tired or if I needed to dance with the band, I could move with them because I wasn't tethered to hitting the bass drum. It worked really well. We decided that's what we're gonna do. I start just trying to memorize lyrics as hard as I can using phrases. And what I went and did was I went into my tracks, and this was a huge moment. I created another vocal track along with the click track that just went to my set of in-ears to run this whole show, telling myself what the first few words were in every line. And telling myself that is how I did it. We have no singer. I'm now singing the first set. We only have enough material as an opening band to open for ourselves, having just enough material to play a 90-minute show. We get out there, we dress in the whole thing. We really haven't done this ever. We get out and the crowd is already about half full, to a little over that because it is a big New Year. And downtown is packed and everybody is so happy, and it is starting to snow. It's beautiful. I'm playing and I could switch over and play any hand the way I needed to do this. We sang through it. I got through the whole set and we worked it out, and it was a little tough because I had to kind of really trust that the words were going to be there, and the way I did it, it made it perfect because I told myself exactly what to say, because once I start the line, I know the rest of the verse. It just falls in line because of the melody. I'll tell another worst story ever when the bass player couldn't come and I had to use something like this to fix a serious issue. Goodness gracious, worst gig ever at the time. Limitation inspires creation. It does. We get to the second set. My man is slaying it over there, just laying it down. We were having a good time, and then we break into some few rock things that we had just goofed off with it, like singing in the car. All this metal stuff. This what later on became a metal version of this band that worked, and it clicked, and it was time to go. Goodness gracious. Those are some crazy gigs. Being at the forefront of a movement is really neat, and seeing how that works and being one of the people that started that before anybody else, and seeing how the crowds came to that was very unique and very amazing. It was a very good gig that I'm glad I took. I loved all the cats I played with, even though a lot of them had their issues. It was neat to be able to do it. Yeah, I just had a crazy story pop in my head. So we finished the night. It is a beautiful night. We've had the best time. We have sang. Everybody has come up. We've kissed the girls. We've shaken the hands. We've shaken the drinks, and it is a great time. And then as soon as we get done, we were leaving and it was snowing. The guy, the guitarist that just sang that this is our first time ever at doing something without a frontman. Ever. And after this, we learned that maybe we can pick up some few things, a little bit of work, just to have work. My man comes out to us. Hey man, I just found out I paid y'all too much. I said, what are you talking about? He said, we don't get the front man's cut and split it between all of us. I said, why not? That's very fair. We actually did what we had to do to take care of the gig, save the gig, and do very well. We did it with three of us. And Sammy, and he's mad as hell. I was like, why? I said, what is going on, man? And so after this, he really didn't work with us anymore, and my man didn't give him the money back. We split the cats that didn't make it. He didn't show up to the show. We split his cut between all of us to kind of help take care of the extra that we had to put into this to make this work, to cover a missing musician that could not be picked up in Nashville. We did not have enough time to fly a person from another town's band to Nashville to play. It was too late, and we knew that. It was way too late to do that, because I've had to fly to other towns, and I've had other guys fly to Nashville to play for me when I had to get out and I had to leave and go do another thing or something. We always had a replacement that could come in and knew every single show, dressed the same way, knew how to absolutely do the dance. So it's true. But that was the worst gig ever, and it became a defining moment for me, understanding something that I could create in the digital world and help me in my ears, because it was too dark, and we're wearing sunglasses in every gig. because we had to kind of hide a part of our personality from the audience and keep that distance, and it made the whole thing work. It did. It was genius.
I don't know what you're saying.
But the idea of it, and why I might push us to the front of these videos, is jacklegs. I met so many beautiful people there and so many good friends, and we partied and we had fun and we sang and we celebrated life every Thursday night. It's great. The people, the staff, everybody, it was a family that felt great. I hated to see when the club changed, but it became something else very cool. But clubs don't stay the same in Nashville. It's very rare that clubs stay around for years and years and years. Tootsie's is an anomaly and a nightmare to play. But that was one of the most changing gigs ever, because it taught me that if I had to sing, I could sing and really pull it off. I'm not great at it. I don't have the timbre to be a monster singer, but can I sing? Yeah. And that's a good thing to be a drummer that can all of a sudden change it up and sing. But me learning that stuff is for a whole different story, but I don't know what I would even call that series. Why I learned other instruments and what pushed me from drums to really wanting to play other stuff and really expand my musical, palette. But well, I've had a few of those gigs, and that might be one of the worst gigs ever. I just absolutely had a thought about that. Oh, here comes Jesus. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm Chadwick. I just made that crazy thing. If you liked it or it made you feel something, grab your camera phone and hold it up to one of the codes over here. And I've kind of come up with a way to do a virtual tip bucket. If you get a chance, hit one of the codes. I appreciate it. Don't feel like you have to. Thanks. Bye.